Welcome to another episode of GardenThyme. I am Miss Dianne.
And I am Grammy Donna.
And we are at O'Donnell's Nursery on the Gorham-Scarborough line, and we are going to talk to Jeff O'Donnell today about the Barth Daylily line. And for our viewers that maybe have never grown a daylily, they are in the Hemerocallis genus, and Hemerocallis means beauty for a day in Greek. And this blossom, when it opens in the morning, will be faded by 5 p.m. And the next day, another one blooms. So you truly have to deadhead these, take yesterday's blossom off. So it is a day lily.
And some people get it confused with a true lily, but a daylily can always be identified because it has a root system. It's not a bulb, it has a full root system.
And Jeff O'Donnell is going to talk to us today about his line, exclusive line of Barth Daylilies, and the lineage of how it came down through the family.
And is continued today to continue to be hybridized. The founder of it, Joseph Barth, passed away and his son has taken over.
That is correct. So let's go find Jeff.
Find Jeff, and I think I'm excited about this.
So aren't I.
Let's go find him. Let's see if we can find Jeff.
You found
here
him.
He is.
Hi there.
How are you today?
Good, thank you.
Well, we have finally arrived, and we're here to go out to the display area so you can talk to us about Barth Daylilies.
Love to talk to you about Barth Daylilies.
Great.
Let's
We
go take
can't
a look.
wait to hear.
All right.
I heard that was your favorite subject to talk about.
Well, that I can talk to you about.
Okay.
Behind us is a collection of daylilies
Correct.
that O'Donnell's is selling, and it's the Barth Daylily line.
Correct. The Barth Hybrid Daylily.
And could you tell us how you got involved with this daylily?
I think I can if you got 2 or 3 hours, sure. But
I'd love to hear the 2 or 3
basically,
hour version.
in the spring of 2010, I was contacted actually by Nicholas Barth, who is the son of the original hybridizer, and they hybridized them. But there was someone else who actually owned the rights to the line in the inventory. And that farmer really felt he needed more room to grow his other crops. He's a cranberry grower, he's a strawberry grower, he does peas and corns and that sort of thing. He was making more money with that, he needed more room to expand into that, and he was basically gonna bulldoze the daylilies and be done with it, which would have stopped the line. At that time, it was recognized as the oldest continuous daylily breeding program in the world.
Wow.
All of the others that had started earlier had stopped. Someone had died and it just didn't happen. Or it had started later than them and was continuing, but that was the earliest one that started in 1952.
That's right. I wanted our audience to know.
It started in
so the Barth
1952.
line started in 1952 and still continues today.
In the little town of Alna, actually on the banks of the Sheepscot River, is
There
where
you go.
Dr. Barth actually started the line. It was 1972 when he first introduced his first plant. So
From my reading online, he had another profession, and was this a hobby to hybridize?
he was actually a minister.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
And they called him Dr. Joe Barth, but he was a Unitarian minister. Also was a member of the town board or selectman or what have you. Was involved in local politics as well as just neighborhood in general, and was the minister there. Was a character, I understand. Never did get to meet him. He passed away in 1988. But both he and his wife were freewheeling, I should say. The daylily name for her is Outrageous Ramona, and the people that knew her at the time say she was outrageous. So it's a perfect name. So
it was a hobby for him.
It was a hobby for him. It was
Okay.
a hobby for him.
Before we go too far into this discussion, I'd like you quickly to show our audience the different parts of a daylily so that as we talk about hybridizing, they can understand it.
Okay, all right. Well, this is one called Newcastle, so there's a lot of them named for places in Maine, people in Maine, so it's kind of fun. But basically the daylily parts, they form what we call the fan. And the fan is basically this part of the plant right here that kind of comes out in a fan shape. There is one here, there's another one over here that's going this way. The older the plant, the more fans you have, and it's a clumping plant. It's not a running plant where pieces come up. It starts from there and just makes a larger clump with more fans as it ages. The more fans, the more scapes. The scapes are the stem. That's the flowering stem. This is called a scape in the daylily world. And then the scape could come up and have a bud on it, or a few buds, or it could have branches with buds on those. So when we have the branching structure, and typically a lot of the Barth hybrids have been developed to create more branching. We call it in the daylily world the candelabra branching, but if the more branches you have, the more buds you're going to have.
Absolutely.
Each daylily flower only blossoms for a day. Here's yesterday's flower, and it's all shriveled up, and that's going to drop. Here's another of yesterday's flowers. It shrivels up and hits the ground. So obviously, the more branches and the more buds you have, the more flowers that you have. This one flowered once yesterday. It's going to flower twice a little later today. These are opening. These will flower in a couple of days. But look at all these smaller little buds. This branch has 5 buds on it. This one has 6 buds on it.
So even this little tiny thing will turn into a flower.
That will actually be a flower.
And I'm not sure the camera can get that.
Probably 2 or 3 weeks from now, this is still going to be in blossom.
I see. So that's the uniqueness of a Barth daylily.
Well, there are others that we've used that have good branching that we're using to create these, but one of the stipulations of Nick Barth is that he wants at least multiple branching.
Okay.
So the great quality daylilies will have so many buds on all these branches that even though the flower opens for one day and is gone, you continually have more buds opening day after day after day after day. One of the best things about the real good quality daylilies is that they just don't quit blooming over a period of well over a month or more.
Okay. Now, Jeff, when I look at this, I see that you call this
a branch.
A branch, and this,
Yes.
now to my untrained eye, I thought this went with this, or it does. This is all
it
one.
Does. This is one branch from here
Okay,
up.
so we got 1, 2, 3
over here,
3,
4, 5.
5. I see.
5 branches.
I would like to have you explain for our audience what makes a Barth daylily different from other daylilies that are on the market.
Basically, if you want to put it in a nutshell, Nick Barth and his father before him is looking for certain characteristics, one of which is when the flower opens, obviously you look at the flower. And it has to be a nice flower. It has to have good substance, meaning it has to have a thick petal to it. If you have a very thin petal, if you have hot sun, it shrivels. If you get rain, you can actually get what they call wash, where the colors wash out. We don't want that. We want these to be what we call sun-fast, meaning even on the hot days of last week, it looks good. It looks like a painting. It looks really nice.
So when I feel the blossom of a Barth daylily, which I didn't know until now, it feels like substance. Feels waxy to me.
It feels waxy because it's got a wax coating on it that helps from the sun. It is a thicker petal in general. Anything that washes quickly, we will discard immediately. It doesn't matter if it's got good branching. It doesn't matter if it's a big flower, little flower, multicolored, heavily frilled, which, by the way, Nick calls foo-foo. He says, I don't mind foo-foo if it's got the other characteristics, but if it's a foo-foo flower and it's only got 2 buds on it, I don't want it. It gets thrown in the compost pile.
I see.
We want heavy branching. We want good substance. We want multiple buds so that when we have flowers, it flowers for a long period of time.
Okay.
There is
like the one we were showing here.
Yes, exactly. There's several of them, probably a dozen or more, that are actually what we call extended blooming. That means that even though they bloom for a day, most daylilies will open in the morning, and then about 5:30, 6 o'clock, they start shriveling up. Extended bloomers will continue to stay out just like this through
I always
7
thought
o'clock,
midnight.
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, You can go out with a flashlight and still find them. If you're in a situation where you might have a home where you entertain a lot, or if you're in an office space that has an outside garden and you entertain in the evening, these are perfect daylilies for you to be considering.
Because
extended bloom, and there's even 6 or 8 of them that are called nocturnal, meaning they will actually be open until the sun comes up in the morning.
That brings us to another question. When a daylily, you've
Finally accepted
You've
it.
done your research, you like it, and you say this is ready for the market. If you want it to, doesn't it have to be registered
It does
with
have to
the
be registered.
American Daylily Society?
The American Hemerocallis Society is the registering branch or body where we have to actually apply. We apply for registration, and then they accept the registration or not.
You mean they have to say, yes, this is a nice daylily?
No, they have to make sure that it's different, that we're not taking somebody else's and just putting a name on it. They want the records of what was the father, what was the mother,
Oh, I see.
when.
It's like raising your child.
What year was it? Basically, they want all the information.
Yeah.
So-
and they do ask for how many branches, how many scapes, what is the color. Nicholas does all of the describing because I don't do
So
that.
is this process, once you contact the Daylily Society, how long does that take to finally...
A couple weeks.
But do they judge it that it has enough scapes? They don't
No.
grow it? They
No.
take your word for it?
They take our word for it.
Okay.
That brings me to another question.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days, it looks like Dr. Barth named his daylilies after people like his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed over the years the names have changed. And is there anything behind that?
It started out originally with descriptions, the cinnamon dew being the first one, which has a cinnamon scent, and actually on the outside of the petal, it has a cinnamon colored band. That was the very first one, and it was a very small flower.
And that's the
believe
first
it or
one
not.
he hybridized.
That was the first one that he registered.
He registered. Now, you have a story of how long it took him to do that.
He actually started in 1952, and it was in 1972 that he registered his first
So
one.
20 years to get that flower on
And
the
then
market.
3 years more for the next one. Blue Blood was the second one, which was...
I just saw Blue Blood.
That
It's
Blue
beautiful.
Blood is a
It
beautiful,
is a
large
beautiful-
red with
Yep.
like a very dark eye.
It's beautiful.
And that one is there are those were basically in an attempt to create a blue daylily, which has still not been done yet by anybody.
I know, we're all
By
looking for
anybody.
that. Aren't we,
and
Miss
and
Diane?
that's an ongoing effort, which,
Do you think you'll ever get there,
well,
to blue?
scientists say that it can't be done because the genes aren't in the plant. But what will happen is now that we can select genes and put them in, you will actually have a modified gene where a blue iris gene will end up in a daylily or something
really?
along that line.
So it'll have some
They
blue
will
hue
create
to
it. I call that cheating, but they will do it. Somebody will do it. Somebody will do it. We will get a blue daylily, but it'll be by cheating.
Now, is it true, I thought I read that if we go after a tetraploid, there's more chromosomes in there,
Let's have
that
you
it
explain
gives
that.
hybridizers more to work with. Is that...
We're all diploids. We are diploids.
We are, that's
We
right.
have one set of chromosomes in our body that determine basically our genetic makeup. Daylilies and plants and so forth are diploids generally. The species forms are diploids as well. In a tetraploid, the plant has been modified to create a double set of chromosomes. So now instead of 2 sets of genes, we have 4 in a tetraploid. Now, tetraploid daylilies typically are those that are larger. They have brighter colors perhaps, or they have a different range of colors. Many of the ones with the heavily frilled edge and the foo-foos are all tetraploids. The foo-foos are all tetraploids. It doesn't necessarily change the branching. It doesn't necessarily change the bud count.
It's color.
It's the flower itself. Or you may end up with a stronger scape and because you have a larger flower. And if 2 of those or 3 of those blooms open at the same time, and on the Barth, many times that happens, it has to be strong enough to hold that up.
I want it clear for our audience exactly what role O'Donnell's plays in the
Okay.
Barth daylilies as opposed to
Right.
Nick Barth.
Right, okay. Basically what happens is Nick Barth is still the hybridizer. He's the scientist that's doing it. And as long as he is, and as long as we continue the line, in the future, it will continue as the Barth hybrid daylilies, even though at some point we all know we switch over. But Nicholas is still the hybridizer. My responsibility for him is when he makes the crosses, he determines what he wants to create. He'll take this one, for instance, and cross it with this one if he knew that there was something there he wanted to. He might want to make this part brighter, so he would use this plant hoping to get a brighter center or something along that line.
Oh, I see.
In doing that, he would then collect the seeds, late summer, fall. He collects all the seeds. He provides the seeds to me. I grow the seedlings.
Oh, okay.
So he might give me 10 seeds out of a cross. And then I might get anywhere from 4 to 8 seedlings that sprout the next year. Full year after that, we hope to see some flowers. It may take 2 years after that.
So it's a long process.
So a 2010 cross, we may not see a flower till 2012.
Yeah.
And then we determine whether the plant is good enough or not.
And it's still a long ways before it goes to the public for
Oh,
sale.
absolutely, absolutely.
Because you have to build stock.
My job is to produce the seedlings. When those seedlings blossom, and this year we're seeing 2010 and 2011s, we actually are getting 2011s, which sprouted a year ago.
Okay.
But I've become proficient enough in growing them that I'm now getting them to flower a year after they sprout.
So there's a learning curve.
Oh, absolutely. So we are
like everything.
We are seeing flowers in this nursery that no one has ever seen before on plants that people have never seen before.
That must be an awesome experience.
It's kind of cool. We then take pictures of every single one of those. We measure the flower. We measure the scape. We count how many buds there are. We count how many branches there are. All of that information goes to Nick Barth. And then he comes back to me and says, basically, 90% of the time, that's junk, throw it away, that's junk, throw it away, that's junk, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. And then he'll say, ooh, I like this one. So we'll keep it. And then
one of them from the batch.
Maybe 1 out of 50.
Oh, I see.
And we've got 1,000 of them. So, so we've got maybe 20 or 30 plants.
Oh, I see.
Out of the 2,000 that we're looking at, we've got maybe 20 or 30 that show promise.
Yeah.
They're maybe not quite good enough. They might be something that he says, I'd like to improve on that. I'd like to take that one, cross it with this one. And he already knows. Yeah. He already knows to get that quality in there, he wants to cross it with this one or that one. Sometimes he'll say, well, you do it, and I'll make the cross. But generally, he's doing it.
So do you get discouraged?
No.
So many of them are tossed out?
No.
Full-fools, huh?
I want only the best. I want the very, very best. We're like the Marines. We want the few that are the best. We don't want something that doesn't make the grade.
Well, as my sister and I like to say, if you really want the best, you go to O'Donnell's.
Well,
I think
thank you.
they're the gold standard.
Thank you.
Wow.
We've been filming we're in year 5. And when you go to somebody's garden to film, or you go talk flowers for one of our shows, usually in the course of that shoot, they will say, oh, I bought that at O'Donnell's.
Because it stands out in the garden.
And it's a given. I mean, you've got to be one of the biggest nurseries in southern Maine.
And it's, I think, one of the oldest, huh?
Well, yes, in a manner of speaking, and like everything else, you can look at it many different ways. But we have been here as O'Donnell since 1960, but we bought the nursery as a nursery at the time, and it has been in existence since 1850 originally.
Really?
No wonder it's the gold standard. Now, I understand that you have some people young people that do the potting, and we'd like to show that process just so our audience get a feel for how that goes through the line.
Yeah, cute.
Okay.
It's an interesting program. From the moment that we purchased the line, we connected actually with the Maine Medical Center in they have a job assistance program for special needs kids. And these are high school kids that need help in order to hold a job, do a job. They need to know what's expected of them, and so forth. And they potted every plant that's here on this table.
I'm impressed.
It's quite a story.
And this is now the 4th summer, and they are now currently potting basically next year's or the future's crop of the Barth Daylilies.
And
do you think
to see that?
Oh,
are they potting right now?
They're potting right now.
Well, let's go. Let's go take a look at this crew.
As I mentioned, it's basically a job training process that is done through the Maine Medical Center. These two young folks here, Emma is on my left, and Brandon here is on the right. We call him Tom Brady's love child. He looks like Tom Brady. He's a tall guy. Look at his face. Isn't he a handsome devil?
He is.
Oh boy, he and Emma have been potting now for a couple of weeks, and they are taking divisions of Barth Daylilies, and they're sliding them into our program pots. You'll notice that all of the Barth Daylilies are in this orange plastic pot.
I hadn't noticed that.
Every single one of them. That's our branded program for the Barth Daylilies, and then what we'll do is when we bring them up to sell, we'll put our sticker on them.
Okay.
But every single division here, which this happens to be Little Amethyst, which is one of our 2011 introductions. It's a very small little 18 to 20 inch plant, very compact, very nice to put into the front edge of the garden or in a small space. Little 3.5 to 4 inch bright purple with almost a black eye.
We want that.
Yes, and there's kind of a sister to it called Little Red Tree, which will be a bright red.
I noticed the root structure is extremely strong.
And these were basically field-grown plants that we dug up and divided, and now these folks are potting them for essentially either
next year's
well,
sales?
either end of this year, when the roots hit the bottom of that pot, we can sell them.
Okay.
And it'll be about 6 to 8 weeks from now is about the time that happens.
And you will see that
So-
because you'll see a root on the holes there?
The root will come right
Come
out of the
it out.
drainage hole. As soon as we see a root under there, or if we tip it over and slide it out and there's roots all the way to the sides, we can sell that plant.
They won't
Is that
put a
the way-
blossom on it, but
No,
they'll
it
just
will
use
not
the
bloom
fan,
again.
huh?
It will not bloom.
Yeah.
I have actually chopped off the scapes with buds
Yeah.
on them
Yeah.
because we're reducing the amount of root system that was on the plant by
Okay.
making those divisions.
Okay.
One division may have ended up with a bigger root on it or a bigger fan. That one went back in the ground. That's going to be divided again in 2 or 3 more years.
Okay.
I always replace the plant, but
Yeah.
then I take all of the rest of the divisions, and these folks are basically potting up every Barth Daylily that
Can
have.
we go back to the root system?
The root system?
Now, yesterday I dug a huge clump of hosta, one hosta,
Yeah.
and I split them up like this.
Right.
Now, I took my pruners and cut my roots. You don't do that here at O'Donnell's?
We can if in fact there's an issue with fitting them into the pot or so. What we don't want is this thing to be circling around and around and around in the pot. So you can cut these off.
So could we watch?
what?
Is it Brandon? How would he pot that?
How will he pot this?
Oh, you're going to trim it for
well,
him.
let's see how he pots that.
Oh.
How about we?
soil.
He's filling his pot.
Yep. And basically, you know, we go through the training process of this is how we should do it. Marissa here, which is their job coach, provided by Maine Medical Center, will actually go through the training as well and know what is supposed to be done. And then basically she watches these folks and makes sure that they do what they're supposed to do. She records their hours and so forth. And these kids get paid to do this. This is a paid gig for them. So they're basically doing what we've taught them to do.
Okay.
And then Emily, on the other side, which is my summer intern for the program, she actually writes the labels out, and when these pots end up on the trailer, she makes sure that each variety is separated, that the right label is each one, and that they're done correctly. So if there's any differences, any changes have to be made, she'll make sure that gets done. So these are done, and then they're unloaded into a part of the nursery where they just simply root and grow.
Okay.
And then they're provided for the public when they're ready.
Okay, so
job.
my next question is I want to just back up a little bit.
Okay.
I want to bring this young lady into the
All right.
conversation. You're the, step right up here. What, Marissa?
Marissa.
Marissa, what a beautiful name.
Oh, thank you.
Tell our audience where you come into play with, and does this program have a name? These students are here?
Yeah, it's called the 7-Week Summer Youth Program,
Okay.
and it's run out of the Vocational Department of Maine Medical Center. And basically, it's 7 weeks, and it's just a bunch of kids from around the areas in the different high schools. Like Brandon's from Wyndham High School, and Emma's from Portland.
Okay.
And basically, there's like a group of 7 or 8 job coaches. We each get 1 to 2, or sometimes 3 individuals who want to participate in the program. And there's different job locations, and we were lucky enough to get O'Donnell's, so we're outside and
I'd like to
doing fun
work
stuff.
here, wouldn't you, Miss Diane?
I want to do this.
I want to work here.
It's pretty awesome. So
It's pretty
we got
awesome.
a Good luck with the.
I don't know if I
holiday.
need a
Now,
job coach.
do these students get to pick lots of different jobs? And did these two say, yes, I want to work with plants? I mean, is there enough variety?
Or do they care?
Well, there's an end of the year survey where they could say like what they would prefer to do, but it's actually pretty random. So we got very lucky. To be
Okay.
here.
Oh,
And
it's the luck
it
of
was
the draw.
random, yeah. What
I
job
see.
coach got what kids and what location
Yeah.
we're at. So we ended up working.
And is this the first year you've worked in this program?
It is. Yep.
So you like it, huh?
I do.
And
yeah.
you like O'Donnell's here?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah, we do too, huh?
It's a great
Well,
place.
thank
Well,
you.
that's great. That sounds like a wonderful program. And
We're the lucky ones, though. We're the ones that
I
end up
think
getting lucky.
everybody's
I
a
think it's
win-winner.
win-win.
We got
here,
get a
huh?
good batch here.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Well, we've finally got to the end of this shoot, and Mr. O'Donnell, we'd really like to thank you for all of your educational points that you've given our audience on daylilies. We've learned a lot about Beth, who is my daylily, and you learned a lot about
Sarah Scally.
and I like Sarah Scally, so well, maybe I'll have to buy her.
You might. Now, there is one thing I would like to say. I don't call him Mr. O'Donnell. That's very formal.
Well,
Can we refer to you as Jeff?
I wish you would.
And,
Okay.
And most people refer to us as the Garden Ladies. And we hope that we've introduced you to Access TV as another venue to showcase Barth Daylilies.
and we hope our audience has learned a lot about this line of daylilies, because we were actually out here a week ago looking at hostas, and we happened to come across the Barth Daylilies, and we knew that we'd hit upon something we didn't know about, so he was luckily Jeff came along and we were introduced to him, so we wanted to share our knowledge with you.
Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you. It's wonderful. And in closing, also, we're going to put up on the at the end of the show, Patrick will put up the websites of the Southern Maine
Himmerkalis and Hosta. No?
It's Hosta and
Hosta, yeah.
Hosta and
Daylily.
Daylilies, and then the American Himmerkalis Society will have that website address. So those of you that want to expand your knowledge,
Okay,
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for Saco River for filming. We love it.
Yes, today we had the professionals, Jeff.
That's it.